There are many things that can cause catastrophic or calamity events in your practice, and they include a fire, a theft, an auto accident, an unexpected illness, and possibly death of the principals or the physician of the practice. When this happens, a chain of catastrophic events can occur, and you need to have several processes in place to be able to avoid the continuation of a catastrophe in your medical practice. You should always be able to have a true evaluation about what your practice is really worth. A certified appraiser who does this for a living is your best line of defense. Don't ever get caught up in the fact of what you think your practice is worth, because more times than many, you're probably going to think that the value of your practice is much higher than its actual true value. When it comes time to sell, merge, or bring on a partner, it actually assists you in a real, true evaluation of what your practice is worth, because that can include assets, liabilities, accounts receivable, equipment, real estate. Many other factors go into the real evaluation. So make sure you get it done right while you're at your most profitable stage, because you become most vulnerable at the onset of these catastrophic events. The first thing that I can say to you is always be honest. Don't try to pull the wool over anybody's eyes, because your patients, your employees will always know what's going on, and they're going to feel that they're being kept behind the 8 ball. Explain that you're there for them. Explain that you'll do everything that you possibly can to assist in the process going forward. But most importantly, be honest. You don't have to tell them all of the radical details, but just share with them that there is a process in place moving forward, that you're going to do everything that you can to assist them going forward. In order to give your patients the best level of service, I suggest that you either have other associates within your practice, obtain independent contractors, or even break in a locum tenens. A locum tenens is a temporary surgeon, physician, staff member, mid-level practitioner, more in line of a physician, that can give and provide the services and medical attention to your patients during your absence, during a leave of absence, during your illness, and still be able to provide, hopefully, the same level of service that you would provide. There are many forms of how you can structure your corporate entity, and many of it depends on the state in which your practice is. For example, you can incorporate it as a professional association or a professional corporation. This has good sides and it has bad sides. Let me explain a little bit later. You can also suggest that it becomes an INC corporation. You can schedule it as a limited liability corporation. You can have it as a subchapter S corporation, where the taxation falls as a pass-through for tax purposes. There's also ways to have it as a sole proprietorship and or a partnership. I don't recommend this. The problem with a professional corporation or a professional association is that in the event of your demise or permanent disability, if you have a family member that's involved in your corporation that is not a professional, for example, another physician, it becomes unlikely, or sometimes in some states illegal, for them to be able to own the practice. If it's a corporation or a limited liability corporation, they then can become the owner. But I would check with your attorney, I would check with your accountant, and I would check with the state and where your practice is to make sure that the legal ownership and the pass-through, not necessarily from the Internal Revenue's point of view, but from the state's point of view, from the Department of State, where your practice is located, falls within the confines of a pass-through. An irrevocable life insurance trust, also known as an ILIT, is a system in place where if you have insurance or you have property, you can place the insurance who owns the policy. So you don't own the policy, the Irrevocable Life Insurance Trust or the ILIT will own the policy, and that directs how the proceeds of your estate go. You put your living will or your designated will, you place your life insurance and all of your assets into the Irrevocable Life Insurance Trust, which can avoid taxation, and that document, that trust, will then direct, according to your will, how the assets of your estate are then distributed. This is a very important part in a catastrophic situation, and people aren't aware of it until it's too late. Many times when you have a husband and wife or a wife and a husband in a practice, when you want to secure lines of credit or you want to secure a loan or a lease, the bank or finance company may ask for personal guarantees from both parties, even though the spouse may not be a professional. I suggest that the non-party, meaning the non-physician, the non-professional, if they're forced to sign as a personal guarantee, that they place a lien on the practice or on your receivables or on the specific equipment that the money is designated to purchase. This way, in the event of a catastrophic situation, then that person will, although they'll be financially liable because they signed as a personal guarantee, they then become a lien holder and can repossess or put a lien on the practice, the receivable, or the equipment that that money was used for. Otherwise, they could be held personally liable for that debt. It is so important to have advance directives and living wills in place, because if you don't, when it comes time to potential life support measures and it has not been agreed upon how the injured party or the failing party wants their life handled, decisions are going to have to be made last minute, which may not be the most popular for all the people involved. The children can be upset. There can even be second and third marriage families. And you all want to be in line so that the person who is ill, the person who may become ill, or the person that becomes into a catastrophic situation has already expressed their personal interest in how they would want their life sustained, or more importantly, not sustained. One last important part to remember. You and your spouse may have filed your personal income taxes as married joint for many, many years. It is important to note that if this occurs during the time, the catastrophic event occurs during the time that you have to file your income taxes, and an extension may have to be filed, it's very important that your directive guarantees or insinuates in writing that you request and wish to continue the filing of your income taxes as married filing joint. Situations may occur where the estate ends up filing single, which can be very detrimental to the surviving spouse. So make sure that in your advance directives and in your will that you specify in the event of your death that you also wish that your personal income taxes be filed married joint, and therefore that money will go to the surviving spouse and not towards expenses into the estate. It's very important because these are very financial related situations, and even in the best of times, your spouse will have a lot of debt that incurs due to your death. Many of them will be represented in your will, some of them will not. what you really want is what's best for everybody. Your spouse, your children, and any of your surviving family.